Good morning. That's the big rock we see down here in Magdala from a distance. So I'm up there waving to all people in Magdala looking up this way. All the Magdala family. And there we can see Mount Hermon in the distance. We haven't seen it this big for a while. I'm not sure when is the last time I showed it to you on live stream, but there you have it, over there. Oh, I'm not sure if it was visible on the first day of the year. The sun is coming out really strong now. I've been wanting to come up for a number of days, but it was all wet, and now we have this very different wind coming from the east that's causing the Sea of Galilee to be rough and very noisy this morning, especially when you're down close to it. There are strong waves, relatively speaking, coming in here. And down there, it's actually very noisy down beside the lake. And also, just as yesterday, because of the issue with the celebration of the festivities about which we read and the differing schedules worldwide, you will see a discrepancy in the date of the link for the readings you have. It says tomorrow, Monday, because that feast will be celebrated tomorrow in the US, because today they have the Epiphany, which we celebrated here yesterday, the visit of the three wise men to the baby Jesus in Bethlehem. And so we have extraordinary readings from Isaiah and a marvelous psalm. And actually, because the way the readings are set up today for tomorrow, it leaves a choice of readings, and they're actually absolutely very intriguing to see that choice and that complementarity. So there's a chapter there from the 40s of Isaiah where it's inviting everybody to come free, to come and drink and eat freely without paying and without cost. Rich, choice, delicious drinks and food to eat, so nourishing and so good. But the first reading, also from Isaiah, a few chapters later, I think it's like 44 and 52 or something. You can see in the link there. The first reading is about something different. Let me just take it out for you, because it's really worth paying attention to the words themselves, which are so beautiful, so powerful. So it's talking about bruised reeds and smoldering wicks. And it's talking about a victory of justice. But if the wicks are smoldering and the reed is bent over, like so many reeds here were demolished by the waters, the high winters, the high water levels in the last number of years in the Sea of Galilee, we had a lot of reeds along here. All that are left are the bushes. You can see the bushes there, as they were strong enough to resist the onslaught of the tumultuous waves in stormy conditions, as the water was very high and all the reeds are gone there. So this is a marvelous, I'm thinking an awful lot today of parents. In fact, I got a note this morning from a parent asking for prayer because of a very wayward child that has major problems with substance abuse and has fled her country. And so I'm thinking of a lot of parents who have great difficulties. And you know what? The readings today are all about you. And it's actually about the whole of humanity, because that's the situation of humanity. There is so much brokenness. It's like a war zone, and you don't need to imagine war zones anymore, because the media is feeding us tons of war destruction images. And if it weren't doing that, there's enough video games out there that when I'm taking all these social media for free, they force you to take ads. So you're looking at ads for a moment until they expire when I do Duolingo. And the ads are very often for video games that are so destructive. The video games are just smashing and destroying all kinds of attackers coming at them. And I find that very, that's educating a whole generation of playful kids to the lust of destroying, the joyful pleasure of destroying. And Isaiah is teaching us the incredibly satisfying but costly work of rebuilding. The smoldering wick, the smoldering coal, and the wick, and the burning, the broken reed, to rebuild them. How many broken lives from broken families, so much damage. And these little children, when they were children, experienced a lot of verbal violence maybe, and who knows, all the stuff they experienced, some abusive things in their homes and from others. And this is the sad history of humanity. But the words of Isaiah are about a servant who's coming very humbly. And he doesn't break the bent reed, and he doesn't squash out the smoldering wick, but he nurtures them back to life. And that's called redemption. That's called redeeming, a redeeming attitude, a restoring attitude. Well, I just missed a lovely flower up here in this bush I wanted to show you, but I'm not going back up. We'll find another one hopefully along the way. These bushes are coming into flower now. They have these beautiful yellow flowers. I came up this little last bit without my sticks in order to have my hands free for the telephones here, for the filming and for the text reference in my other hand. And sticks are a nuisance for that part, but they're such a great help for climbing up. And I saw some of these bushes already blooming. Maybe we'll find another one shortly for you. So getting back to how these readings, and I would recommend parents to read both readings well, because on this feast of the baptism of our Lord at the Jordan, at the site where the people crossed over to the promised land, we need a new crossing into the promised land. The promised land of rebuilt relationships in our families, rebuilt serenity in our soul. So many people are so broken, so hurt. My phone is at an amazing tilt, and I don't know how that happened now. Maybe it was like that the whole time. I didn't notice before. I'm making my way gingerly down here because up here the ground hasn't dried out 100%, and it's steep. You mightn't notice that too much here, but maybe the camera gets straight if I put it against the steep slope. So let's keep going here. And so this servant in Isaiah, it's chapter 42, is called for a victory of justice. And we just talked about war, and we see the destruction of war. And war is a defeat for humanity, for the humanity of people, for our true or right attitudes toward each other. War is so destructive. It's not just destructive of buildings and roads and factories and houses. It's destructive of relationships more deeply and more lasting. You can rebuild a house and rebuild a road, but to rebuild relationships requires a lot of ginger treatment. Very gentle, patient. It's so easy to punch somebody and hurt, but it's so difficult to build that relationship again. There's always been trust, a lack of trust and doubt, skepticism. And we know that in the church as well, from those who have abused people seriously. It's very sad. It breaks the trust. And so we're crossing the Jordan again to the promised land of trust between people, of healthy relationships. And the word child is used a lot today. The Father speaks about Jesus and he says, "This is my Son in whom I'm well pleased." And there's a reading in here. There are two options for the second reading. And there's a reading from John which says, "My children." And the children are destined for a victory. So maybe you're a parent with a very broken child, and that child is destined for victory. So that gives great hope. And that's what Jesus is all about. It's about this victory of mercy and of hope. When you're with cattle, you have to move very quietly and slowly, and not threatening, not rushing, not jerky. And then they tend to be docile and not about. There's a bull back there, so I kept away from him. I was walking up and I didn't realize it, and I just looked to the right, and there was a cow about 3 feet away from me behind a bush. And then I just looked to the left and there was another one. I was right between two of them. That could be a nice picture now, a nice profile picture. Yeah. Get a little closer here for a better profile picture of this one. Maybe she'll, no, she's turning towards me now. Where are you, lady? Where are you? Oh, there we are. She's about 30, 40 yards away, so don't be nervous about me. Here is my servant from whom I uphold, my chosen one with whom I am pleased. And that's Isaiah. And then we have the gospel passage of the Father speaking over Jesus in the Jordan, who was so humble, he lined up among the sinners. Parents who have a very troublesome child, the last thing they need to do is scold the child or adopt a position of talk down. I know another parent who went to rescue her daughter recently, and she brought a lot of resources to help and to pour motherly love on her. Smouldering wick, bent reed. How much mercy is needed in our world today. It's a world that is a time for mercy. So many thorns, so many hurtful glances, hurtful words, hurtful actions, piercing wounds. Emotional hurt, spiritual hurt, moral hurt, compass lost in the middle of the jungle, in the middle of the desert, no water. And this is when, Isaiah's other chapter comes into wonderfully, Isaiah 55 it is. You who have no money, come receive grain and eat. Come without paying, without cost. Drink wine and milk. Why spend your money for what is not bread, your wages for what fails to satisfy? We're in a culture of the ephemeral, of passing thrills, of fleeting seconds. The media guys also recognize this because there was a guy here, a reporter, and he was doing a report a few years ago in Magdala, and he was relativizing the importance of all the media. And he was saying years ago, when you would write an article for the media, it was in the people's mind for a day. Now when you post a video, it's in their mind for 5 seconds or 3 seconds, and they move on, and it's gone. It's gone. There's a proverb here in Israel, I'm not sure if it's worldwide, and it says, what good is yesterday's newspaper for? And the answer is for wrapping fish in today's fish market. And all the work that went into typesetting and writing and thinking and getting the paper ready and the printing press lined up and the punctuality, the pressure to get it out on time for the delivery boys to the newspaper boys, the whole process, you know. And now it's all over. It's gone. 24 hours, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And now it's only not even 34 seconds. And so we live for the joys of moments that pass so quickly, and we don't build on rock. On solid rock. The flowers come and go, but the rock remains. The cows walk around and graze a bite, but the rock remains. Hopefully we can be more solid and permanent than the flowers of a day and the taste of a minute, of a quarter of a minute of a piece of cheese or a burger or an ice cream or a pie. That our life has deeper sources to drink from. Come and eat freely and drink freely and become experience that you belong in the family. You're no longer an orphan, you're no longer an exile, you're no longer a refugee, you're no longer away from home. Come back home, be adopted by the Father. This is the great message of baptism. People, let's leave it like that. God bless you. Thank you for joining. It's a great feast day today, the baptism of our Lord. A delightful feast day. We'll do this little selfie moment so that you're happy. Isn't that a wonderful countryside? All over. Maybe we should get one last look at Mount Hermon. If it's still visible, yeah, but it's getting into fog, so I won't even delay. God bless you. See you later, alligators. Happy feast day of the baptism of our Lord here in the Holy Land and wherever you are.